And so here I'm going to use the Velvet Matte Top Coat, and you need this to help the watercolor stick. Otherwise, it kind of acts like oil all over your polish and won't work the way you probably want it to. And so I love Madame Glam's Velvet Matte Top Coat. I'm going to use that today. Cure that. And now we're gonna do the, I'm aiming to recreate this one. And so I'm gonna be using the yellow and the purple and the pink for sure, and maybe even a little bit of the mauve here. You need some water for this, and I like to use a paper plate because I've always got 97 different colors going on, some polishes, some gels, some watercolors, a little bit of everything, and it gives me lots of space to work with. Here it is, all cured. You don't need your white to be too perfect. It's just nice to have a lighter color so that when you wash it out, you're going to a lighter color. As you can see, if I had done a dark color in the background, when I washed it out, it would get darker. And so I'm going to use this light color here. Now, notice that I'm going to cover it up completely with my reverse stamping here. And so as long as you get it to kind of looking the way you want it to here, it's okay if it's not quite perfect down here. In a long time. And so here I'm using my Nick Pro Round. I got this on Amazon, and I'm using the 2-0 size, and I'm going to get it wet first, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of my yellow here, and I'm just going to start by kind of aiming for the shape that I'm going for. And you can see that my brush wasn't completely clean, and it's getting a little bit of orange in it, so I'm going to wash it off and add a tiny bit more yellow and kind of even that out a little bit. And then I'm going to head it off this way just in case something shows up underneath my reverse stamping. Okay, and so there's that. And now I'm going to go in with some pink. This color right here, my permanent pink. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. Here I am. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this and kind of it's not a great idea to get too much of the pigment on there. You can always add more pigment. It's harder to take it off. Too much of the paint. And so I'm just gonna kind of go around the shape that I want, and I'm thinking this is a little light, so I'm gonna add a little bit more to it, like so. It's good to have a paper towel around to kind of manage how much water your brush is holding. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to get this darker purple color here and the permanent violet, and along on the top here. And I don't have quite enough water to make my brush happy, so I'm going to add some more. There we go. That's more like it. Make sure you get the tip of your nail. Okay, so now that I've basically got my colors on that I'm looking for, I'm going to try to get as much color out of the brush as I possibly can. And I'm going to go along, and now I'm going to dab a little bit of that out. Again, you can always add more water, but if you get too much water on the nail, you're going to have a harder time getting it off. So I'm just going to start kind of blending this in. Now, if you blend down from the dark, it's all going to get darker, and if you blend up from the light, it's all going to get lighter. And so I would like it a little bit lighter. And so I'm going to kind of head up this way. So now you gotta let this dry. It dries pretty quickly, in my experience. And so the next step will be to add some base coat. Your stamp will not want to stick to this unless you've added a base coat, and also it will really help it not peel later on. I've also heard of people putting protein bond in at some layer to keep it from peeling as well. I haven't tried that yet. If you've tried it, I'd love to hear how it went for you. So, checking this, it's not quite dry yet. All right, that looks pretty good. And you can see that the base coat really brings out your colors quite a little bit. You want to kind of do this fast. If you're too slow and you brush it too much, your colors are going to kind of melt, and then they're going to want to bleed into each other, and all your beautiful work will be ruined. So there we are, going into the lamp. And I am trying to recreate this, and so I'm going to use this one right here. And so you can see in this picture that I didn't use the sun outline. I'm going to take that out, but I used everything else. And I like to do my first round of stamping with some gel polish. I love this black gel paint from Madame Glam. And a couple reasons why I love using gel polish for this rather than some of the other choices. You can wait as long as you want to stamp it. You can wait as long as you want for most of the steps, in fact, because it's gel polish, it's not going to dry. And especially for something with fine lines like this one is, it really turns out good. You're gonna get a perfect stamp almost every time, the first time. Oh, here we are. That looks pretty good. And that's definitely something I can work with. So I'm going to flash cure that. And this is really important step, in my opinion. If you flash cure this step, it keeps your work kind of crisp, because the gel polish is not going to get solid because it's not going to dry. If you flash cure it now, you're going to keep your crisp, sort of nice stamp rather than smearing it as you apply it. And so here is my nail. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and clean this up and get rid of some of the stuff that I don't need. Now, one thing with stamping with gel is that you're going to get these sort of smear marks around in here. You really want to get those out at this stage. Really. They're hard to get out later. They're pretty easy to get out now. So I like to use kind of a wound up piece of tape for this. But if you're doing really delicate work, a cleanup brush is also a really nice way to get rid of these. And I'm going to take the birds out too and put them in later. There's a couple bird stamps on this that are nice that I'd like to use. And those birds didn't turn out quite as perfect as I would like them to. And so here I've got, and I always like to look at it from both directions. You can really see a lot more looking at it from this direction, in my opinion, and just kind of check that it is what you want. Now, sometimes these things right here at the edge are going to want to pull your stamp away, and so if you see that happening, leave them. We can scrape them off later, and they will be less likely to ruin your work. Okay? And so now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do my reverse stamping. I'm using, where do I put it? I'm using this color right here. Kind of a clayey, orangey sort of a color. And so here it is. I'm going to go through with this, and what I like to do is to kind of put a big blob in the middle, and instead of painting it on, because sometimes that'll want to pull your work around, I'm going to push it around from the blob. I like to do my reverse stamping with regular stamping polish. I find that the gel is a little lumpy, if you use it for the reverse coloring, and I like the way that the actual polish dries a lot better. I'm gonna double check from this side, and then the other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold the nail under it and just make sure that I've got enough of it all colored to cover over the part of it that I want. It's looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna do a tiny bit more. You want to be careful not to let your stamping polish get too dry or to be using too little of it. If you do that, it'll start kind of pulling the gel part of the stamp around. And so you want to make sure that the polish you're using for your reverse stamping is still pretty liquidy and that you've got plenty of it. You don't want to be messing up your beautiful and perfect stamp. For the green stuff, I'm using this color Lilypad that I love, and I'm gonna use it for everything, and then when I get around to the other side, I'm gonna go in and add a little bit of dimension with some other colors later. There we go. And so I'm going to let this dry now for a little while. It's very, very, very important to let it get plenty dry. If it's still too soft when you try to stamp it, it will kind of pull and stretch around and mess itself up. And so it's better to let it dry a lot than not enough. We're basically going to encapsulate this in gel, and so if it doesn't, it's more important that the stamp is perfect than that it sticks well.